Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Next to Madison. Today's guest is, well, he's a character of his own. I am so excited to be sitting here. I'm actually at Skybridge Capitol, sitting with the former communications director of the White House.
It's like a real company, Madison.
It's
right?
a
It's like
real
sort of
company.
All of these people are stage actors. I just hired them here for today for you.
Thank you.
And then they're going to leave after this.
I know. That's
This suit was rented about 2 hours ago.
So the guy talking, you guys, is the famous Anthony Scaramucci, a.k.a. the Mooch. How are you?
It's really good to be here.
It
with
is
you.
so
Thank
good
you
to be here, too.
Invited me on your podcast, so
Of course.
very happy to be here.
No, I'm very excited for you to be my guest, but I do need to ask you, how did you end up the communications director? Like, how did you even get that job?
It's totally accidental. It was, I was doing a lot of media surrogacy during the presidential campaign. I was hosting Wall Street Week for the Fox Business Network. I was running my firm, but I was also raising capital for the president. So we had a very entrepreneurial campaign. We all had many different tasks. And so I was originally supposed to be, when the president won and he was naming his executive transition committee, which he put me on, I was originally supposed to be his OPL director, which stands for Office of Public Liaison. I was going to be the president's chief networking officer.
Okay.
And so Reince Priebus and Steve Bannon, for some reason, didn't want that to happen. And so they started doing what I call the Washington two-step. They started making up stories about me. And they blocked me effectively from getting that job. And so, I got on the phone with the president and said, look, these guys are sandbagging you. Priebus is flooding the staff at the White House with never Trumpers. He doesn't want guys from New York like Giuliani or me, or, Christie, even though Christie's from New Jersey, the tri-state metropolitan area, because he's afraid that we have too close of a relationship with you and he won't be able to control the situation. But he's hurting you. He's going to hurt your agenda. Moreover, he's leaking on you like a sieve. And so 6 months into the presidency, he called me and he said, you're right. Come in and help me fix it, and name me his comms director. And, I made a mistake. Classic situation. I let my ego get into it. I figured these guys were trying to kill me. Let me go make a move on them and kill them. And so I trusted somebody that I shouldn't have trusted and got myself fired.
Who was that person?
I don't really mention his name, but I'll just put it to you this way. I'll frame it for you. He was a Italian-American kid from Long Island whose father knew my dad for 50 years. And so he was from the next town over. And I thought I was having an off-the-record conversation with him, and he was recording the conversation, and I said something stupid about Steve Bannon, which, was actually fake news. I mean, come on, the guy couldn't do what I said, but it was a funny comment. And embarrassed the president, and John Kelly fired me. So to me, it's a lot of lessons in there. Number one, I should have never trusted the guy. If you're in Washington, it's like what Harry Truman said, if you want a friend, buy a dog, because you have no friends. And then the second part of that is that, you got to own your mistakes in life. I put my pride and ego into it. I got my emotions high. When your pride is going up and your ego is going up, your emotions are going up and your intelligence is going down. And so I made a mistake. But, here's the funny part of it. I'm fired. I don't carry any grudges. There's no personal animosity towards anybody. Trump called me. I got fired on Monday by Kelly. Trump called me on that Thursday. He said, how you doing? I said, relax. I'm doing fine. You made me as famous as Melania and Ivanka, and I didn't have to sleep with you or be your daughter. So I'm like, right. Totally fine. I could care less. I mean, at the end of the day,
totally true.
What am I going to do? Right? And so, but here's the thing that Washington thought. They thought, okay, this guy's a business guy. We're going to demonize him. We're going to box him. We're going to throw in some Italian stereotypes. We're going to try to two-dimensionalize him and buffoonerize him.
Right.
And then we're going to build him this shame box, and we're going to have him sit in the corner in the shame box with a dunce cap on, and we'll never see or hear from him again. And that's not me, Madison.
No,
so I think that they were taken aback by they created an empowerment issue as opposed to a disempowerment issue.
Right.
I'm not Billy Bush, where he's on a bus with Trump, and I think he's getting a show back now, but it took 3 years. He was on a bus with Trump. Trump's grabbing him by the, are you allowed to say bad words on this podcast?
Go for it.
No, I don't need to say it, but, Trump's grabbing him this way, and he's popping Tic Tacs, and he's saying all kinds of, typical nastiness, and Billy Bush loses his job.
Right.
I mean, that's sort of not really fair, but, Billy Bush, I don't know him super well, but he should have went after the situation instead of like taking public relations advice to hide after the press debacle. Does that make sense?
No, 100%.
I mean, be yourself. I went right back on Steve Colbert. He asked me if I thought I was going to last a long time in the White House. I said, well, I thought I was going to last longer than a carton of milk. I didn't think I was going to get blown out of the White House before the milk went bad in the refrigerator, But I mean, it's fine. I'm a big boy. Let's move on.
No, exactly. And so what do you think was the most embarrassing thing that happened for you?
Well, the most embarrassing thing and the thing I feel the worst about is my wife and I were fighting. She filed for divorce on July 6th. We were really fighting. Some of it was political. Some of it was personal. Some of it had to do with our relationship. Some of it had to do with our families. Love each other, but she was like, basically, wake up or I'm going to divorce you.
Right.
And so she followed through with that by literally filing for a divorce. And so, and I take responsibility for a lot of it. A lot of it was my fault. But now she's pregnant, filing for a divorce. That's a little awkward, embarrassing. And I'm at the Boy Scout soiree with the president in West Virginia, and she's going to deliver the baby 3 weeks early. So I don't make the baby's birth. I'm in a no-fly zone restriction. I can't even get to a chartered plane.
Right.
So I missed the birth of the baby, and then typical Washington, the minute he fired Priebus, I told Trump they're going to write a really nasty opposition research story about me because this is the ruthless animals in Washington. It means it's the worst people you will ever meet in your life. You'll never meet
can imagine.
Worse people than this. And so Priebus got fired at like 5:07 on that Friday, July 28th. The kid was born on the 24th at 5:12. The New York Post had this deep dive opposition research expose, and they basically said that I love Trump more than I love my son James, and I ignored the birth because of my love of Trump. I mean, that's literally how the story got written. So, that was hurtful and embarrassing.
Of course.
Not true. And so, you learn so many lessons, Madison, when you're getting beat up like that. You're learning lessons about your friends, who they really are, who they're not. You're learning lessons about yourself, who you are, whether or not you can take a punch. And are you a real guy, or are you a guy that really cares about what other people think of you? And then the third part of this is you got to be a man and admit your mistakes. So I figured out a way to reconcile with my wife. She dropped the divorce. We love each other. We do a podcast, which I'm going to invite you on. And so
I would love that.
Mandatory attendance. You got to show up. This is the podcast where I got in trouble with my testicles, so we got to talk about,
It's the Mooch and the Miss, right?
Mooch and the Misses.
Yeah.
And so it's a fun podcast. And, so we're back hot and heavy. I'll be at my son's birthday, hopefully, God willing, for the rest of my life. But, I mean, that was the most embarrassing thing that happened to me.
So what I had read is that she divorced you because you took the job without telling her. Is that true?
Yeah, some of that is bullshit. I mean, some of that was like that opposition research stuff. We were having personal issues related to our marriage. And, look, I'm going to be very honest because I think it's important to open up and tell the truth about stuff like this because it will help younger people or other people that are in relationships. I think the problem we were having is I was probably too politically ambitious and probably too ambitious related to my business, and I got out of balance, and I started focusing on the politics and my business way more than my wife and my children.
Yes.
Okay. And so that's what happened. And so I have to own that. And so I adjusted that back to, a much more comfortable place. Look, I've got a big business. We're running $12 billion under management. I'm running this business for 15 years, less the 11 days that I was in the White House. And so,
right.
I have to work very hard, obviously.
Of course.
I'm a workaholic, some OCD issues, but I love my wife, and so we have to plan and make sure that we're away and do trips and hang out with the kids and stuff like that. The point being is, don't let your life get too far out of whack, too far out of balance.
Well, don't you feel a lot of really successful men and women are kind of like that, and it's hard to find that balance? So how do you find that balance?
You literally have to schedule it, honestly.
Okay.
It's like I tell younger people, you want to get rich, pay yourself first. So when I started making money at Goldman, I was paying off my school debt, but I was putting every week, 5-ish, 7% of my adjusted net income into a savings account or into a mutual fund. And what ends up happening is if you get into a habit of doing that, you're always living below your means and you're always getting your money to work for you.
Absolutely.
Okay, so for me, that's a habit. And so the habit of like my assistants, very good friends with my wife, say, okay, look, I'm going away. Okay, not mean that I won't be in touch with the business or do conference calls or have access to my email, but I'm taking my wife for our anniversary to Turks and Caicos, or I'm taking the kids to Disney World. Star Wars is opening up in Walt Disney World at the end of August. I'm taking all the kids. They're all Star Wars nuts.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, I got them a VIP tour, and so I'm blocking the time off so that I'm with them. And then here's another big thing, which I suck at, is being present. Because what ends up happening is we're all addicted to our phones now.
Yeah.
And so, I put my phones over there to talk to you. But if I'm with my kids, sometimes I'm looking at the phone and my 5-year-old's trying to talk to me and I'm looking at my phone. That's very bad. So you got to put the phone on lockup.
Well, at least you're aware of it.
Well, yeah. But you also get people beating you up to make you aware of it, Right. I was in the Celebrity Big Brother house. That was a lot of fun, right? So they invited me on the show.
Yes.
And I had a short stay there because I couldn't stay for the whole 28 days. So they worked on this little bit of a twist for their show to put me on. And I didn't have my phone or access to email or social media for maybe 12 days. It was the best thing ever happened to me. I was like, okay,
isn't that amazing?
This is like a real lesson. I was having like a real conversation with Natalie Eve Marie, the wrestler, Lolo Jones, the Olympic athlete, or Ryan Lochte, or you pick somebody that was in the house with me.
Right.
I was having a real conversation. There was no phones, and you were forced to talk to each other and learn from each other. So when I got home, I was telling my wife, this is a huge lesson. We're here at home with these kids. Put the phones away. Now, I'd be lying to you to tell you that if I'm doing that every single time, but at least I'm now thinking about it and more present. And so I think people need to be more present in their lives, particularly how busy we are and
100%.
how much focus and addiction we have to social media.
No, absolutely. So besides balancing your time, what's some other advice you have for a happy, successful marriage?
Well, I don't want to sound cliche. I would say that, you got to fit because, if you put two people together and they like different things, if somebody's like a big time outdoor person, the other person doesn't really like that, like my version of camping is the Four Seasons Hotel or the St. Regis, I want like white towels.
You're glamping.
I'm a glamster, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, we could go for mani pedis and things like that. I'm like, gender's a spectrum, you know what I'm saying? So, but if you're an outdoorsy person or you want to parasail when you're in Turks and Caicos and the other person wants to hang out by the pool and take in some sun and read a book, well, you're going to struggle, so you got to have the right fit. So people, they can say whatever they want, but if you don't have the right fit, it makes it hard.
Right.
And then if you have the right fit, then you got to focus. And you got to work on it every day because let me tell you something. If you don't work on it every day, it's like a garden. It's like this business. It's like things change, people change, life changes. And if you're not staying on it with each other, then you start to break apart. And there's complacency can happen in a marriage, which is a death blow to a marriage.
Right. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Am I being too philosophical for you?
No, that's great.
Okay.
Does she work outside of the home or?
So she worked here. She was the investor relations person here at Skybridge. We've got 2 kids now together. I have 3 adult kids from my first marriage. So she doesn't work here anymore. But on Tuesdays, she does come in and she does media and we do the podcast and, we've got, pretty good response to the podcast, reasonable amounts of downloads. And so she's got some sponsorship stuff that she's working on now because of that. There was a rumor that she was going on the Real Housewives of New York. I don't know if you saw that.
I did. I was going to ask you about that.
There's no truth to that rumor. She was never asked to go on. So
how do you think it started?
So I think what happened was a couple people had suggested her.
Okay.
And I think one of the producers actually interviewed her, but it never got past that, and I think that I think the Desperate Housewives, whatever you call them, the Real Housewives, went in a different. I always make that mistake because I remember watching that show like 50. But so the Real Housewives, I think, wanted to go in a different direction. So typical of Hollywood, they ghost you. You know, they don't really call you up and say, "Hey, we're going in a different direction." They just, you know, I think she got interviewed once and then it was dropped after
Did she want to do it?
Well, I mean, she's very polite, so she would tell you yes, that she was open to it. But then, you know, we started watching the show, and then she was like, you know, wait a minute, you know, this may not be the right thing for me. But could she do something else in the media at some point in the future? Yeah.
Right. Does she have any desire to do that?
I think so, yeah. I think she'll end up doing something. We'll see.
Okay.
You'll meet her. You're going to come on Mooch and the Missus.
I can't wait.
And I get to ask the questions, okay?
Which is going to be great. You guys
I'm going to come really well prepared.
You guys can give me dating advice.
You don't look like you need dating advice. Do you need dating advice?
I'm so picky.
You're picky.
I need to let my guard down. I feel like I have a guard in front of me sometimes when it comes to dating.
Force feel?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like a protection, I think. You know, in my career, I'm having so much fun with it.
Yeah, but
we'll talk about that.
We can talk about that later. But
this is all you.
I don't know if that's a bad idea, actually. You know, having a force field is sometimes good. There's a lot of assholes in our society. You know what I mean? So you need like a heavy immunological system to screen out assholes.
Right.
You know,
so you only need to find one.
I don't necessarily think that that's so bad.
No.
We'll talk about that on our podcast.
Right. So I need to ask you, the tweet you had sent out yesterday about where Trump had kind of crossed the line with the freshman Democratic women, where he had said, go back to your country, and you had basically agreed that you felt it was racist.
No, let's
so
call
have you had
here's
any...
the problem with Trump. Okay, so Trump takes an apple.
Okay.
And he throws it into the town square. And then he says, okay, that was an orange. That's not an apple. And then so if you're loyal to me, you got to get on TV or a podcast or radio and tell everybody that it was an orange that I just threw into the town square. And so I'm watching these lemmings. They're telling people that he threw an orange into the town square. Guys are getting on the TV, that wasn't racist, that's racist. No, hey, that's racist. You can't tell people to go back to the country that they came from. That is a racist trope in our society for 300 years, 200 years.
Right.
And it's a very ugly part of the society. And so...
Of course.
And by the way, those women, I don't agree with them. I don't like their political views. I don't like the slouching towards socialism. I think they're misguided on policy. I would love to debate all four of those women. Maybe you could arrange it. You could be the moderator.
I would love that.
I'll debate all four of those women at once. Okay, and no problem, because they're so misguided on policy and they're so misinformed and they say anti-Semitic things and they sound racist actually to me. But you can't say to them as the leader of the free world, go back to the country you came from,
right,
when three of them were born in the United States and one is a naturalized citizen, and all four of them were democratically elected to represent their districts in the Congress. So you can't do that. If you're going to do that, what happens is a guy like me can't go on TV and say, well, he's not a racist, he's not a racist, he's not a racist. Keep doing that. And you say, okay, wait a minute. Maybe he became racist. I don't know. You can't have the President of the United States saying stuff like that. So to me, I support the president. I want to see him do well. A lot of these policies that he's put in place have been very good for the country, very good for the African American community, as well as the Hispanic American community. But you cannot talk like that.
Right.
Cannot. Okay. And by the way, not a politician. So the great thing is that, like, even if I was a politician, I'd be like, dude, what are you doing? You can't talk like that. So I'm surprised. Like, it's a shocking thing to me that there's no courage in his caucus where they get together with him and say, hey, dude, what are you doing? You can't talk like that.
Yeah. Okay. So is
I don't know.
anyone monitoring these tweets?
No, I mean, he sends out, he's president, leader of the free world. He's not going to let anybody monitor. The worst things, two things that can happen to you is really bad with Trump. Number one, he looks at you, Madison, and says, hey, Madison, you're getting more famous than me. That's a really bad thing for you, because the minute he says that, he wants you out, because there are no co-stars with Trump. And so you have to avoid the spotlight with him. The second thing that's like really bad with him is if somebody said that you were controlling him or you influenced him. He's smarter than everybody else in the room. He's had a bigger and better life experience, and so there's really nothing in his mind that he could learn from me or you. You see what I'm saying? So I don't know.
Wait, were you friends with him before?
I mean, is anybody really friends with him? I mean, we're acquaintances of his. We can talk with him. We can hang out with him. But to be super friends with the guy, no, I'm not going to lie to you and say I was friends with him. I knew him. Spent time with him. I worked for him for a year on that campaign. I worked on the transition committee. I've had long conversations with him. I've been on the campaign trail with him. And I like him. I don't dislike him. And I don't think he's racist. But, don't have a winner at all costs mentality where you're going to try to divide the country. We got a beautiful story here. This is a story where each one of our families came here, took enormous amounts of risk, and made it here.
Absolutely.
You don't think my grandparents were told, get out of the country? I could take out pictures of my grandparents and show them to you. My grandmother was told she couldn't apply for certain jobs because she was Italian. There were storefront signs in New York said, Nina, no Italian need apply. And that stood for Irish, too. No Irish need apply. So my grandmother worked in a laundromat. Her firstborn son was in the Normandy invasion. He fought for the United States. He was in the U.S. Army. He was one of the first people to land in D-Day.
Right.
You want my Italian grandmother to go back to the country that she came from and pull her son out of the invasion, and you don't want me here trying to create jobs for these people?
Right.
I mean, it's an absolutely despicable thing to say, and so don't say it.
Right. So did he see the tweet that you sent out?
No, I have no idea. Somebody told me that he's mad about it.
Oh, so he did see it.
I don't know. Somebody told me he's mad about it. I could care less. Dude.
Right.
You can't talk like that, okay? And by the way,
well, that's exactly
he's another
right.
guy, Madison, okay? He's the president of the United States, but he's just another guy.
Of course.
You think he's that much smarter than you and me? I mean, give me a break.
No.
He's not that much smarter than you and me. He had a lot of courage to go run for the presidency. He had a lot of positive breaks, and he ran a really good campaign, won the presidency. And he's by and large done a good job, but he's just another guy.
Right. No, that's
the beauty
exactly
of the
right.
country, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have any of that BS going on in the country.
So what is your relationship like with him now?
I used to talk to him probably twice a month. I probably haven't talked to him in a month, maybe. Maybe the last time I talked to him was Memorial Day or something like that.
So you could call him and get him on the phone if you...
I don't know anymore. Because I've said enough things that are... Like, I think you're either in the tank with him 100% or you're out of the box with him. You know what I mean? You're in the tank or out of the box. So I've said enough things where I disagree with him where, I don't know if he would return my call or not, but I have no reason to call him. If I had a reason to call him, I'd pick up the phone and call him, and then I would know if he was going to call me back or not.
Right.
Obviously, if he calls me, I'm going to call him back.
Right.
And but I'm also not going to bother him. I mean, he's running his business. I'm running mine.
Right. That's exactly right. What's your relationship like with his kids?
That's very good. I have a good relationship with Ivanka. Jared invited me to the Bahrain Peace Conference. I flew out there to do media for him.
Okay.
And Stephen Mnuchin. I have a very good relationship with Donald Trump Jr. He's speaking at an event for me at the end of the month.
Okay.
I don't know Eric as well as I know those three. But, I have a very good relationship with those guys. And I talk to those guys regularly.
Oh, you do? Okay. Gotcha. And so how are they enjoying this whole process or...
I don't think you can enjoy all of it. I mean, I think that there's a meat grinding thing that happens in Washington. So just go back to what people were saying about Barack Obama, and they were trying to demonize him and trying to destroy him. Now they're saying those things about the Trump family.
Right.
You see what I mean? So it's like, if you're going into that game, they're going to try to deconstruct you and demonize you, dehumanize you, and turn you into a social pariah if they can, because they literally want half the country to hate your guts. So I think that part of it, I don't think anybody likes that part of it. But the other side of it is, I think they're doing some extraordinary things. They're going to meet extraordinary people, and they're, some cases, I mean, I give Jared and Ivanka huge credit for the prison reform that the president was able to get through the Congress and pass. I think that's going to help a lot of people, whether you like the president or dislike the president. The prison reform is going to begin the process of rebuilding a lot of African-American families that were destroyed by the 1994 very aggressive incarceration plan that was put in place 25 years ago.
Right, exactly.
And I think we have to and prison recidivism. And ironically, this is something that Barack Obama and Charles and David Koch are in agreement on, right? So we have actually one common bipartisan thing, prison reform, but it couldn't get done in the last administration. And you got to give the president and Jared and people that worked on that credit for getting it done now.
Right, absolutely.
So to me, I think if you told me I had to take all of that BS, but I was able to get prison reform done and help arguably tens of millions of people, I would do it.
Right, absolutely.
So, I mean, that's my opinion.
Right, no, absolutely. So do you have any political aspirations yourself in the future?
I'm trying to stay married. I mean, I'm like running for the woods.
She doesn't want to be the first lady of something?
Yeah, no, she speaks Spanish. She'd probably help me if I ever ran for anything. But
right.
Look, I'm not a politician, so I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I'm never running for anything and blah, blah. And then a couple years from now, I'm running for something. And you're like, well, that's another jerk off. He was here lying to me. I don't know the answer to that. What I do know is that I want to grow this business and take care of my kids, my employees, and my clients. That's what I want to do right now.
Okay.
But I do love the country.
Right.
Okay. And we got a lot of problems. And so if the timing is right where people actually want somebody to talk to them honestly about the problems instead of all of this sugarcoating and then racially divisive identity politics, all of that nonsense, if they want to get off of left and right policies and they really want to talk about right or wrong policies, yes, I would be open to it.
Okay.
And so we'll have to see. But I mean, flip side of it is, who knows? Maybe I would crash and burn and flame out in 5 days instead of 11 days. Who the hell knows? I don't know. But I mean, I'm open. Look, I've lived it's a very probably self-serving thing to say, so I hope I'm not coming across like that. But I mean, I've lived the American dream. I grew up in a blue-collar family. My parents never were educated. My father hustled for 42 years at the construction company that he was at. If you ever saw the Bronx Tale, he was like, the bus driver. He paid his taxes. He was ridiculously honest. Everything was meticulous. No funny business anywhere. And I tell the staff here that we're never doing anything wrong here at Skybridge. We're never going to dishonor my father. Okay, I watched him get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. The lunch pail went into the refrigerator at 10 p.m. He got home at 3:15 in the afternoon, and he worked in hot and cold weather outside. So there's nothing you're going to do here that's going to dishonor my dad. Okay, I'm just being honest with you. He gave me my last name. You can call me stupid for joining the White House or saying something stupid and getting fired, fine. But you can't call me dishonest.
Right.
And you can't call my firm dishonest because we're meticulous about stuff like that. And so, the reason why I'm bringing all this stuff up is that, it's been a dream situation. They raised me. They didn't have a lot of money, but they raised me right. I had figured out a way to get the Tufts and Harvard. My mother, Madison, thought that Harvard was Hartford. That's a big joke inside the family. I told her I'm going to Harvard. She says, it's in Hartford. No, it's in Connecticut. No, Ma, it's not. Why are they calling it Hartford Law School if it's not in Hartford, Connecticut? Harvard, Ma. Because people really didn't read, right? So it's like,
right.
I say trauma. My mother says traumia. I said, Ma, it's trauma. It's 2 syllables.
Right.
You get what I'm trying to say?
Of course.
So so my point is that to go from a family like that, Tufts, Harvard, Goldman Sachs, build 2 successful businesses, 11 days in the White House or 2 days in the White House, whatever. It's been an amazing life. I mean, I'm not.
Oh, 100%.
So if I have an opportunity to give back or to help come up with ideas or policies that can help people like me who were born like that to reach the arc of their American dream, to reach those aspirations, yeah, I would take the heat to do something like that. Yeah.
So
we'll
did
see.
you see that viral Vice video of you?
Which one?
Where they mentioned every time you said you went to Harvard.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah, I don't know. Did I mention it a couple times?
Did you laugh at it?
Yeah.
Or were you embarrassed?
No, I could care less. I could care less. I probably have done that because of all the stereotyping. When somebody you're out there working with the president and Seth Meyers is calling you a human pinky ring. I mean, you're a comedian. It's funny. You guys can laugh, but I thought it was funny. But like I'm saying, Seth, if I'm like black, you can't call me a human piece of fried chicken. You know, people flip out, right?
Right, of course.
So, but a human pinky ring, I'm Italian, so you can hit me with Tony Soprano. You can hit me with all these Italian stereotypes, gin, tan, laundry, Jersey Shore cast member, just entered the White House. All that stuff, I was fine. I thought it was fun. I was a double parked BMW. I thought that was funny. I mean, I don't care. I mean, you could go back to the time I was in the White House, Jack Oliver, Bill Maher, Stephen Colbert, they all took their round of shots at me. I don't care. So I probably have said more than once that I went to Harvard Law School, like, hey, pay attention. There's no Scaramucci Law Library at the Harvard Law School. I had to figure out a way to hustle myself in there. There's no Scaramucci legacy there.
Of course.
So I was just probably signaling to them that I may not be what you think I am, right? Like, I'm on Bill Maher with David Frum, and he's just like snooty, snobby sort of a guy, and then he tries to pull a move on me by lying about something because I knew I could smell on him that he was worried about debating me. You know, because, you know, that's how people are, you know. And they, oh, you just mentioned to the TV that you went to Harvard and blah, blah, blah. I said, well, okay, you went to Harvard too. I said, well, I don't mention it as much as you do. And, you know, he was like this arrogant prick. I mean, the point I'm making is I'm not mentioning it to make somebody feel worse about themselves and me better than them, but I probably am mentioning it because I'm getting too dimensionalized by all the Italian stereotypes.
Of course.
So just trying to send a shout across the bow that, hey, pay closer attention. You may not, maybe these books that you see on the shelf here, maybe I've read some of them.
Right. No,
you see what I'm saying? That's all.
Exactly right.
But I saw the Vice. Did you see the Vice video with the skin products? You see that one?
I didn't see that one. What was that one?
So they came to me and said, what are my 3 vices? I said, well, one of them is pizza and Italy.
Okay.
Right? And then we did that. And then the second one was Goodfellas. I've watched the thing like 200 times. I think I erased my sister's like wedding video on a Betamax or something like that to copy Goodfellas on TMC or something, you know. So I know all the lines.
Right.
And then the third thing is I'm addicted to skin products. You know, I hoard skin products. And so I had one of those hydration masks on, and I was wearing like a gown on Vice, you know, like one of those skin product gowns. I'll send you the clip.
You have a skin product gown?
I didn't. It was a prop that they had for me to explain my vices. You know what I mean?
So wait, what's your favorite skincare product?
Depends on what you're talking. Like, I like Obagi, like the foam cleanser from Obagi. But
okay.
I've got the MBR stuff from Germany, the tissue activator. Okay. Yeah,
I've never even heard of that.
Yeah, I think I look pretty good for 85.
I think you look fantastic.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I mean, it's
right.
not, you know, the Botox and the hair dye is probably helping, but, you know.
Wait, do you do Botox?
Just on my forehead, yeah, right here.
Oh, okay.
I think my forehead looks like a sheet of glass, right? I mean, you could.
Yeah, I mean, it looks great.
You could probably water scan my forehead, right?
Yeah.
See, here's the other thing: is like, I mean, I was dyeing my hair, and it was like too dark. It would look like Cuban leader. Black, you know what I mean? As I was looking at it on TV, man, this looks like shit on TV. So I lightened it up to Latin American dictator brown. See what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
And I told Hannity, you're getting too much snow on the roof, and you're going to look like a geezer on TV. And you ever look at Hannity now on TV? He's going to be mad at me if he watches this. But you got too much snow on the roof. So,
okay.
This is nice.
So are you gray?
I'm very gray, yeah.
You are? Okay. So you don't want to
Are you blonde?
I am dirty blonde. With highlights. Oh, I don't try to hide anything.
No, come on. My wife had a great line about this. Yeah, I'm dirty blonde with highlights, and then I got a little bit more highlighty, and then a little bit more highlighty, and now you look like that. You know, I mean, all these blondes do the same thing. They start over here, and they move to platinum blonde.
I'm just trying to match my 7-year-old self, you know?
Hey, let me tell you something.
Bringing it back.
Let me tell you something. I own who I am.
No, and that's what I really like about you.
You asked me if I use Botox. Right here. A little up here. That's it.
Anything else that you do? Like laser? I'm a big laser fan.
I had some capillaries on my nose.
Okay.
Some red. Yeah, I had that laser, but other than that, nothing.
Okay. So you're just really into like good skincare?
Hydration. Okay. Lighten up on the alcohol, no sun, drink a ton of water, and put some good cream on your face every night.
No sun? So are you spray tanned? Because you look kind of dark.
Am I dark right now? Well, I just got back. So I didn't limited sun. I just got back from Turks and Caicos, so
gotcha.
That was a couple days ago, so it's going away. But limited sun.
Okay, so yeah, and that's.
But I've had my share of spray tans. My oldest son's like breaking my balls about it, but like We're in Vegas at my conference. The spray tan lady comes in with the tent. She's ready to shoot me like I'm in like an auto glass facility, like I'm like an auto collision facility, right? She's gonna paint the side of the car, and he's like groaning and moaning and telling me what a vain asshole I am. 2 minutes later, his shirt's off. He's in there getting sprayed. Okay, so
Oh, that's hilarious.
that's the point. I mean, so everybody, when a spray tan lady shows up, we'll all get online together.
And how doesn't it dry? Doesn't it take forever to dry?
No. The new stuff's not so bad. Well, you've never had a spray tan?
I had one. I did, but it didn't dry fast enough, and then I ended up like an Oompa Loompa. My hands were all orange.
Yeah, you gotta be careful. Then you could look Trump-like. You want to avoid
Yeah.
the Oompa Loompa look.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's exactly right. So, how is your relationship with all your kids?
Well, I mean, my first wife and I went through a divorce, and I think sometimes that causes a strain.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if you asked me that 5 years ago, I would have probably had a more stressful answer because I think there was more stress in the system, and now it's 5 years later, and so it's better.
Okay.
With my adult children. But I think if parents are being really honest, it's never where you want it to be.
Right.
You always have an ache with your kids. You want your kids to be next to you all day, and you're worried about them. And, I told Deirdre, my wife, because, when she was pregnant with Nick, who was our first child together, and she hadn't have any, she was married once before, didn't have any kids.
Okay.
I said, okay, you're going to have a kid now, and what's going to happen is you're going to be worried all the time. Like the cliche, Madison, that you're only as happy as your least happy kid is totally true because you're worried about the kid. Is he okay? Where is he?
Right.
Hopefully he's not using drugs. He's not doing this, that, the other thing. But I think my 3 older kids love me, and I've tried to provide to them a great life. I've tried to give them quality and quantity time to the best of my capability, but I was also trying to create my business. And so...
Right.
I would be lying to you if I told you I was the perfect father or something like that. But I have an intense, passionate love for my children, and I'm doing the best I can. So it's way better today than it was 5 years ago. And hopefully you'll invite me on your podcast in 5 years. It'll be better still. But divorces make it tough on kids, and particularly, they sided with their mom in the divorce, and so that made it tough. And by the way, I don't blame them. It's fine. It's adult. I think what happens, though, there's 3 stages of your relationship with a parent. And I heard this from somebody. I think it's worth repeating. You idolize your parents. They're the greatest thing ever. Then you get a little older, and then you start to blame your parents for all your problems, so you demonize them.
Right.
And then you get a lot older, and you start making the same mistakes your parents made, and you humanize them, right? So you go from idolize, demonize to humanize. Okay, and then once you're
really great analogy.
Well,
yeah.
once you're in the humanize, it's not mine. I heard it somewhere. But once you humanize, I think it's good because then the kids look at you and say, wait a minute, he's just an older version of me. He's trying, loves me to death. He made a series of mistakes in his life, but he's a good guy. And I'm going to love him.
So
that's where I'm hoping I'm getting to. And then the other thing about parenthood is it's totally asymmetric. I mean, you love them no matter what. Okay.
Right.
And so, there was a great Armenian folklore where the kid gets married, the daughter-in-law hates the mom, and the kid's trying to please the daughter-in-law, and she says, go kill your mom and cut her heart out and bring it to me. So he goes and kills his mom, and the heart is bleeding, and he's bringing it back, and the heart's talking to the kid saying, don't worry, son, I love you to death. The point,
oh my God!
The point being is that you can do anything. The kid can do anything to you.
It's just an unconditional.
Yes, it's totally unconditional. So the whole thing is asymmetric. Right. My mother's yelling at me that I'm not calling her enough, and I'm yelling at my kids, telling them that they're not calling me enough. It's like a daisy chain.
Right. So do you call your mom?
And then, by the way, my mother's yelling at them that they're not calling her enough.
Right. Yeah.
So I could call my mother 25 times a day. It would not be enough.
Okay. Yeah, so are you close with your mom then?
Yeah, I'm close. I live 2 miles from my parents. I never bought into the city. Grew up on Long Island. I have a house in Manhasset. I live 2 miles from my parents in Port Washington. I have a house out in Southampton. And, I'm from Long Island. I mean, I love Long Island.
Yeah. Okay. So you've never lived in the city?
I lived in the city, the first year that I worked at Goldman, I had rented a place. And I love New York City. I mean, feel very connected to New York City. My businesses have been in New York City, but I always felt, more comfortable in the suburb. I think you're a product of your environment. Like, you like New York City?
I do.
Okay.
But there's
You grew up in
parts
Denver.
of me. I did grow up in Colorado.
You probably had a lot more open space out there, right?
Right.
Do you long for that once in a while?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like me, I'm like 2 miles from my mom. I'm like an Italian mama's boy. What can I tell you?
That's great. So do you guys do Sunday dinners and everything?
Sunday dinners, yeah.
Every
1 o'clock.
Sunday?
Yeah, 1 o'clock. My dad.
Oh, I love that.
My dad used to go to sleep early because he had to get up early. So we had a 1 o'clock dinner.
Oh, so you guys don't miss a
cooking up a
Sunday
storm.
unless
Yeah.
you're on
It's
vacation.
another thing people have to remember. Like, we're in the He Too, She Too, Me Too movement. I tell women in this office, I grew up in a patriarchal family. So it's like, I remember taking my boss at Goldman. He wanted to come to an old school traditional Italian Sunday dinner. He was like a Jewish guy from San Francisco. I said, no problem. Come to my house. He brings his fiance. My mother and sister are cooking up a storm.
Okay.
They serve a gigantic mounds of food. The thing's over. They get up. They start cleaning the kitchen. Gary looks over to me. He's like, "Are you going to get up and start cleaning with them? I mean, what are you doing?" His fiance got up to start cleaning. I looked at him. I said, "It never dawned on me. I didn't know you were supposed to do that. I don't know. I'm 27 years old. They're cooking and cleaning, and they clean, and my mother was ironing my boxer pants. She was folding everything. And what do you want me to do? I mean, so now we're in the He Too, She Too, and everything's crazy. But you're not going to move a society and 5,500 years of cultural behavior in 1 minute.
Okay.
I understand that women are impatient. I understand it's 100 years of feminism, and there's been slow progress and unevenness to the progress. But what we have to do is we have to also talk about that honestly, right? We have to explain why, and we have to shatter those totems as well so women can advance more. Like the women in here, I treat them like they're men. I'm not going to, I watch these guys in these big companies, they do desensitivity training. They say, okay, you got to create a safe space around Madison because you could say something to her that could trigger her. Then she's going to run to human resources and get you fired. So what ends up happening is every guy says, whoa, I got a wife, 3 kids, I got a mortgage.
Right.
I better not take Madison to dinner. I better not bring Madison to the golf outing. I better not do anything because I don't want to get in a position where Madison turns a gun on me and I get fired. So what's happening in all these places is the women are getting left out. So they've overly sensitized the men to the point now they're scared to live in shit. They don't want to lose their job. And so they leave Madison out of the golf outing. So here, I treat the women like they're men. I don't care. If they want to sue me and get mad at me, that's fine. But they get paid equally, if not more.
That's great.
And so God bless. And by the way, but you have to understand, I don't treat people equally in my company. I treat people fairly.
Okay.
So if you're coming in the morning, 6 a.m., you're working to midnight, and you're doing an unbelievable job, and another person's coming in at 9 a.m. and working to 5 p.m., and they're doing an okay job, but I like them, they're not going to get paid as much as you. I don't care what their plumbing is. If they have internal plumbing and they're a woman, or they got external plumbing and they're a man, I actually could care less. I'm going to pay you pursuant to your work ethic, your productivity, and your responsibility and your commitment to the team.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely, 100%.
So I treat people fairly in an organization, not equally. Now, government, they got to treat everybody equally, and there has to be due process, and there has to be that. Equality under the law, but in a meritocracy, fairness.
Right.
That's why the Bernie Sanders stuff is complete nonsense. I mean, you can't. So I was with this woman does a massage for me sometimes on a Saturday morning, and she was in the Hamptons over the holiday. She said, I'm going to do 26 massages. You can do 26 massages over 4 days? I go, yeah. And she's getting $200 a massage. I said, you're going to make $5,200. Yeah, she was very excited about it.
Yeah.
I said, your hands are going to hurt. She goes, yeah, my hands are going to hurt. It's a hard thing. But I got all these massages lined up. I said, okay, you love Bernie Sanders. What if a woman's coming to the Hamptons is going to do 1 massage? And now you want to split it now with her? Is that fair?
What was her response?
Is that fair, Madison?
No.
See, I don't
of
think
course,
it's fair.
no.
She's coming to do 1 massage, but Bernie's telling her it's no problem. They're going to take 50 of your massages and give them to her, or let's say 26. We'll split it evenly. That's not fair. Now,
Absolutely
if you're making an argument that he makes that I like, if he's saying, hey, the fat cats are getting fed from the corporate welfare, And when the banks fail, they shoot them $1 trillion, but the lowly guy with the individual mortgage or the woman with the individual mortgage gets hammered.
Right.
He's right. You got to fix that. The educational system, K through 12, is uneven. If in a rich neighborhood, the kid's going to like a Lux school, but in a poor neighborhood, they don't teach him to read and they push him classes. He's right. That's got to be fixed. But you can't take the girl that's doing 52 massages and give it to the other girl that's only doing 1 massage.
Right.
That's BS.
No, I 100% agree. And some people that actually kind of support that, they think they do, once they're explained how it would actually happen, they're usually like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to share.
When I said that to her, she looked at me and was like, well, there's a lot of things I like about him. I said, well, there's a lot of things you like about him because you see that there's systemic unfairness in our society.
Right.
And he's offering you platitudes where he's trying to tell you that he can wave a magic wand and create fairness. But remember what John Kennedy said, and he plagiarized it for somebody else, but they asked him, is life fair? He said, no, life's unfair. Life is inherently unfair. You didn't pick your family. You didn't pick your family of origin. You picked the location of your birth. You didn't pick your skin color. So we're all getting a range of outcomes, either organized by God, or if you don't believe in God, organized by the universe. You didn't pick it.
Right.
But it's up to you to make the best of it, and it's up to us to create the right government, to create the platform for as much equal opportunity as possible.
Right.
You can't systematize income equality. That's never going to work, because then, you have 150 years of failed socialism.
Right. No, absolutely. So how did you get to a point in your life where you just, pardon my language, like, didn't give a fuck? In a good way. You're kind of like, you know what, this is me.
Hey,
this is what I'm going to say. Fuck it.
Let me tell you something. Get blown from the White House. Okay, the White House is not even a fishbowl. It's like a gigantic aquarium, right? I mean, you got like thousands of people that are observing it, and thousands of people that are writing about it, and millions of people that are listening and reading about it or watching about it. Get blown from the White House, do something really embarrassing, and get blown from the White House and blown into Pennsylvania Avenue, and you learn a lot about yourself. You follow?
So you weren't this way before?
No, I think I was, but I think my opinion about not giving a fuck got a lot stronger. Like the cliche that your grandmother told you that what other people think of you is none of your business. Mm-hmm. She was right about that. I don't give a fuck. You think I look at my Twitter feed and someone says something mean about me on my Twitter feed? Once in a while, I'll snark attack back just to let them know I'm out here.
Right.
I'm laughing. I said, this person's telling me my 50 minutes of fame are up, but they took the time out of their day to write to me to tell me my 15 minutes of fame are up. You know what I mean? Or the girl Casey DC, she's putting me on MSNBC. She gets 5,000 people tell her that I'm a disgrace to mankind and she shouldn't put me on the network. Then I know I'm making progress. You know what I mean? If you don't have haters, okay, then you're not making any progress, right? Like Yogi Berra said, they don't boo nobodies. So I mean, if you're a nobody, and then you don't have haters, and you're not making any progress, I would enjoy having some haters.
Yeah,
that means I'm making progress.
So has there been any?
So I would say to you, it takes a long time, and the sooner you get there, the better.
Right, because I'm working on that, and I'm almost close.
Maybe that force field will come down a little bit.
Yes.
Maybe it'll come down a little.
It's true. Well, and how much, you believe in God or the universe or whatever you believe in?
No, I believe in God. I'm a religious guy. I'm a Roman Catholic. I practice my faith. But I recognize we're now in a secular world, and like people think because of the advances of science that they're smarter than their grandparents and they're smarter than the legacy of Earth. I don't agree with that. I have a lot of faith.
But how much do you think is actually predetermined?
You mean preordained?
Yeah.
You mean like, I don't know what's going to happen to me, but it's written in a book somewhere?
Right.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
It's a good question. I don't know. If you follow astrology, they say that there are patterns and there are things that are affecting behavior and moods, and so some of it may be. I don't know the answer to it. I think that when sociologists study free will, it turns out that we have less free will than you thought because we're a social organism, and so we like to be accepted by other people, so we sort of swim in a pack.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like a lot of my lifestyle would fit a Wall Street mid-50s jerk-off who worked on Wall Street for 30 years. A lot of the stuff you could check off the boxes of predictive behavior.
Okay.
And so all of a sudden, a sociologist would say, is there really free will? Or you can get people into boxes and you can profile them based on where they're living and who they're interacting with. You see,
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So I don't know, but I would say this: I believe in God. I've accepted my faith and the mystery of faith, and I'm a flawed human being, and so I get up in the morning and work on it every day.
Right. So we're coming up on reelection. Do
Yeah.
you think he's got a good shot of being reelected?
So the odds makers say 50-50, but I say 60-40 because he's the president of the United States.
Right.
And look what they're running against him. I mean, I'm not trying to be offensive to those people, but he's the president of the United States. He's got a track record now being president. Hasn't screwed anything materially up. He's just a little nasty,
Right.
with his mouth, but he hasn't screwed anything up. And people will close the booth. They'll tell other people for virtue signaling purposes they're not voting for him, but they're going to vote for him.
So out of all
By the way,
the
if he doesn't win re-election, you're going to unravel all the progress in the economy because these left-wing
Right.
lunatics are going to regulate the economy. They're going to crash the stock market. They're going to tax everybody quadruply. The money's going to get wasted. I mean, it's just going to be an unmitigated disaster. So unless they're going to come up with a compelling, smart, business savvy, but also social progress-oriented person, you're going to blow up the economy. So most smart people end up voting for him.
So out of all the people running, is there anyone that you think is his biggest competition that you actually like?
Well, I would say this. It's a little contrarian, but I would say the best chance to go after Trump would be Pete Buttigieg, who's the young mayor, very articulate guy, and Kamala Harris, and in that order. So you put a gay young guy, military veteran at the top of the ticket, a non-white woman who's got a very distinguished track record in public service and in the Senate, and I've met her. I think she's very smart. You put those two people, they might, although I doubt it, but they might be able to recreate large elements of the Barack Obama coalition that got him elected. But without those two guys, Trump's going to knock these other people into left field. I mean, you ever see this guy debate? He's like the Ronnie Lott. You remember the free safety that used to crush people?
Yeah.
He's like the Ronnie Lott of verbal contact.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't see that.
Okay. But you do.
But me, if I could pick, I'm not a Democratic strategist, but if you want to hassle Trump, Buttigieg, Kamala Harris.
Okay.
If you put Uncle Joe Biden in there, Vice President Biden, Trump's going to knock him into left field. Not that I don't like Joe Biden,
Right.
and I know he's polling better than Trump right now, but you got to get Trump in. You got to get Trump in action. Once you see Trump in action, he'll start defining Joe Biden. Joe Biden has a hard time with that sort of adversarial controversy. When he's on stage and he's getting hit, he goes like this. Look what he did with Kamala Harris. He can't handle it.
Right. No, absolutely.
Mika Brzezinski's asking him, what are you going to say to him when he's ripping on you? I'm going to say, go for a run and let's do push-ups. You see that interview yesterday? It's not tough enough for Trump,
Right. No, that's absolutely right.
Even though he's probably a nice guy. And, what Trump would say about Joe Biden is you got 45 years in Washington and the place is a disaster and you're bringing back the old and we need to keep going in a different direction than the old establishment.
So I need to ask this. How much does the public actually really know about what's going on in Washington? Because I think it's very little.
Yeah, no, I would say it's very little. These are terrible people.
Right.
Terrible, terrible people. These are some of the worst people I've ever met in my life. And despicable
Is it just
people.
because they had no, morals? They just didn't have
well,
any...
some of them probably came in like Dudley Do-Rights and came in with some morals, but the other ones got to them, they co-opted them. They basically said, hey, if you're going to survive here, you're going to act amoral and mean and nasty, otherwise we're going to blow you out.
And why do you think that is?
Because it's proximity to power. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And so people start to shift their values in the pursuit of power. By the way, I'm not above it. So I'm not looking at it like some sanctimonious self-righteous prick.
Right.
I'm looking at it as a human being making an observation.
No, of
And I'm
course.
looking at it from a Greek tragic or a Shakespearean tragic point of view. It's a flaw in human nature. And I'll give you a specific example, and it's a painful admission. Some of that was happening to me because I was dismantling my family life in the pursuit of it.
Right.
You see that?
Yep.
And so that's an honest thing, which is a vulnerable thing to express, but it's an honest thing to express. And so I'm not above it. I'm not sitting here as some sanctimonious person. I'm saying something different. I'll take you back to Odysseus. And what did Homer write about Odysseus? He said that he had to tie himself to the mast.
Right.
When he was traveling by the whirlpool, by the Charybdis, and he heard the siren voices of the mermaids, and his fellow seamen were jumping off the boat because they were being seduced by the voice. He said, okay, I want to get myself home. He tied himself to the mast to protect himself. So this is something that the founding fathers, they studied this about human nature, which is why they diffused the power. And they made the power less concentrated because they know that it's corruptive. You see what I'm saying?
100%.
So, but what these banana heads did was they created a duopoly, and they created a closed circuit. It's not even a swamp. It's like a gold-plated hot tub. And they sit in a hot tub and they smoke Cubanos and they pass the Cristal to each other.
Right.
And they blew up the American system. And so half the country is sitting there not doing well, and they voted in Trump.
Right.
That's what happened.
And have you, I know we have to wrap up, but have you, with the whole Epstein thing going on, do you think the Clintons have something to be worried about? Or
I don't know. But here's another weird thing about that situation. Okay, so I'm a New Yorker. I know Jeff Epstein. I've met him many times.
Okay.
He was a member of the core club. I'm the membership chair there. I mean, I became the membership chair after he became a member there. He was a permanent member. And Jeff Epstein is a very bright, articulate guy. If you read what the allegations are about Jeff Epstein, he's obviously a sociopath. So what happens is a lot of sociopaths, you know, they're coming at you bright, calm, articulate, like Hannibal Lecter, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, underneath the surface, they're complete animals, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, to me, what I find funny now is that he's a pariah, and so everyone's trying to pretend that they didn't know him. I'm not going to lie to you. I knew the guy, and, you know, I think what he did was despicable, and hopefully there'll be a fair and judicious punishment. But I don't know who was involved or who wasn't involved, but this is what happens in our society. If the Clintons are involved, the people that hate them, they're going to try to annihilate them.
Right.
You know what I mean? If they weren't involved, but people think that they can tie them to it to hurt them, even though it's not true, they're going to do that.
Right.
I mean, I've had stories written about me. They're totally not true, but they're hoping they'll get high enough on my Google page where somebody will read that and say, oh, he's a terrible guy.
So they can just print anything they want.
They do. Come on. I had 3 CNN journalists fired. Go look it up. June of 2017. They wrote a false story about me. I said, okay, got to bring out the guns here. I got a deep pocket. I'm going to sue you guys.
Right.
Totally false story. Are you going to take it back, or are we going to go to war?
Right.
And it turned out that they had to take it back because...
What was the story?
Well, they were saying that I was under investigation by the Treasury Department and by the Senate for Russian collusion.
Oh, shit.
Totally not true.
Right.
And so, we got it from a really good singular source, senior source in the White House. Obviously somebody that hated my guts. Okay, well, why don't you call Mitch McConnell's office or Stephen Mnuchin's office? I'm not under investigation. It's totally not true. We're going to write and print the story anyway. So they printed the story. They got the eyeball clicks that they wanted, and I started the process of, you know, I called their senior.
Well, good for you for sticking up for yourself.
I'm sorry. I'm not going to allow that to stand.
No.
You're either taking that down or we're going to war. And they took it down, and they issued me an apology. And you know what I did, Madison? I accepted the apology. I'm not a litigious person.
Right.
People make mistakes. Let's move on. But my point is that if the Clintons are involved, that's very bad. Something bad will happen to them. I hope that's not the case, because I don't have anything against them.
Right.
But if the Clintons are not involved, there's still a group of people that are going to try to pin that on them.
Yeah.
Whether it's true or not. You see what I'm saying?
Because he was kind of backing out about all the times he had been with him.
They probably knew each other in New York society. The guy knew a lot of people. You know?
And he was a billionaire, and he was just very well connected. But you don't think anyone had any idea what was going on?
Well, post 2010, I think they did. I mean, maybe they thought he had stopped it after he served his jail time. You know, I met him actually post 2010, and I thought, okay, he's probably not whatever he alleged to do or whatever the plea was and whatever the time spent. Maybe he's reformed himself. I don't know. It looks like from the allegations and the evidence that he hasn't reformed himself.
Right.
So
No, absolutely.
I think it's tragic. I mean, you're damaging young people.
I mean, it's like their innocence is just taken.
It's despicable. It's the same thing with Sandusky at Penn State and all these different people. I mean, look, there's a lot of sick people on the planet,
Right.
It
No,
sucks,
absolutely. So what is your employees kind of, how are they handling you being a leader of a company, but also a very public figure?
Some of
with
them
no
probably,
filter.
to how corporation works. There's a few people in here that hate my guts, but they're getting paid great. And keeping their mouth shut, right?
And you actually know that?
Yeah, of course. And there's another group of people that actually love me, and they think it's funny, and they enjoy the whole show, okay?
Okay.
And there's a couple other people in the middle, they just want to get their asses out of here, go home and see their kids.
Right.
That's how it works.
That's true.
I could
so as
start
long as
another-
they're doing a good job, you don't really care what they think about you.
I could care less, man. And by the way, tomorrow, if we started a new company, let's say the three of us got together, three of us liked each other, by the time we got 5 people in the room, we got politics. And you got 10 people in the room, 3 of them hate my guts.
Right.
I could personally don't give a shit, okay? Because
that's a great way to be,
that's
though.
the way it is, though. That's human nature. You know what I mean? So you got to be honest with yourself,
So do they see a lot of interesting things coming in and out of the office?
Well, yeah, I think most of them find fun,
Yeah.
And we've got so one of the weird things that happens when Trump accidentally made me famous, you end up trafficking in a lot of high profile people. So you got people walking in there.
Right.
And my buddy's like, well, how the hell you know him? You know what I mean? So I don't know. He wanted to meet me.
Who was an example?
It's probably too self-serving. You know what I mean? I don't know. Just a lot of high-profile people. Nouriel Roubini just left. He's a world-renowned economist. Probably not great in your world. I'm very good friends with Josh Brolin. I built a nice relationship with A-Rod Post thing.
Okay.
Oliver Stone. I don't know. I could probably name quote-unquote more culturally popular people in the zeitgeist, but then I sound more and more like a self-important douchebag. So
what do you
probably
think,
not worth mentioning.
What do you think makes you so likable compared to other people that have served in the Trump administration?
Well, I don't know. If you go on my Twitter feed, which like I said, I can't look at because people go nuts.
Right.
That doesn't seem like there's that's not that much likability. But I do think that people, if they really hear my story or they've read my book or they listen to our interview, they'll say, okay, this guy's trying to do the right thing. He's a real guy. He picked Trump because Trump was focused on these blue-collar people.
Yeah.
The establishment wasn't. And by the way, after Trump, we got to still focus on these people. We got to fix it.
Right.
I think that's one of the things that the Democrats could run on, that a lot of the things that Trump put in place hasn't really helped those people. Some of it has.
Right.
A lot of it hasn't. So, but we got to fix that. So I think at the end of the day, people say, wait a minute, this guy's pretty honest, He's calling Trump out on some stuff. He doesn't like the child separation policy. He's not a Trump apologist. He's his own guy. And he's, I try to think about what I'm saying, and I try to bring historical context and a real world street smart context to the thing. And I think people say, all right, give him credit for that.
Right. No,
the
absolutely.
people that like me.
Right.
The ones that hate Trump and they want to put orange Cheeto stain on my forehead because I work for them, they're going to hate me no matter what. And I mean, who cares? I mean, what are you going to do?
Right. It's no sweat off your back, really. But,
Right.
you strike me as very down to earth, which is good.
Yeah. But again, when you're working to get wealthy and you're working to build yourself up and you start getting the confirmed biases of all the wealthy people around you, you could tunnel into something and miss a lot. And so
right.
One of the epiphanies I had on the Trump campaign is that Trump was talking to the people I grew up with that didn't go to Hartford Law School and didn't go to Tufts and didn't go to Goldman. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so he was talking to those people, and I miss those people because I spent 30 years of my life trying to become financially independent, and I got to give the president credit for that. He still, even though he was living in a mansion, I mean, his apartment looks like Louis XIV smoked crystal meth and decorated it. I don't know if you've ever seen the damn thing.
No.
I mean, it's ridiculous. He loves it. I'm looking at him like, you got to be crazy. But he was living like that, but he still was in touch with them. That's impressive to me.
Yeah.
I missed that, and I shouldn't have because of the way I grew up and the way my parents are. So
right.
I think I'm down to earth in some ways, and I think I've unfortunately become a little bit of an elitist in some ways too, as a direct result of my life experience. So one of the positive things about getting kicked in the teeth is that you can get back to your roots a little more.
Right. No, absolutely.
So I think I'm down to earth. I like to think so. I think I'm blessed, and I feel no more important than any other person on earth. But I do think at times I have been sheltered from or tunneled into things that are not in touch with the real world of what's going on for most people in America.
Right. No, but you're very self-aware, which is great.
Yeah, you get your ass kicked enough times, Madison. It creates a lot of self-awareness.
Yeah. So what drives you?
I love life. I mean, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
So
we're doing
you're
conferences.
happy. You
We're
just
talking
love
to
everything.
actresses that are comedians.
Yes.
We got fun stuff going on. I get to do television.
Yeah. You've
I mean,
got a gorgeous family.
I love skin products. So hair and makeup is like the best part of my day.
See, I love skin products too. So we need to exchange advice.
I'll help you out. I'll introduce you to my facialist. You'll be fine.
Oh, sounds like a plan. I like facialist. No pun intended. So we do have to wrap up. Anthony, thank you so much for
I appreciate you coming in.
being
It's a real
next
honor
to
meet
Madison.
you.
This was so
Okay.
fabulous.
God bless.
It was absolutely
And,
amazing.
You got to come on Mooch and the Missus, though. We have an agreement here. See
Yes,
that?
I'm 100%
Okay,
on.
I'm
You
gonna
let
have
me
my
know when to
producer's
come
gonna
on.
call you.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. All right, you
God
guys,
bless.
thanks so much for listening to another episode of Next to Madison, and we'll see you next time to find out who's next. Hi, your host, Madison Malloy here. I just wanted to remind you guys to please follow the show on social media at Next to Madison. And if you have any questions or suggestions for the show, or you feel that you would be a great guest on the show and would love to be considered, please feel free to email me at nexttomadison@gmail.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on all podcast platforms. And I thank you again for listening.